Hello there. Did you know that we could learn how to heal our issues from a crochet project? I didn't know either until this past week. So I'll tell you a little bit about this. During the holidays, it's winter in the Northern Hemisphere. I started a crochet project. They call it was it a shawl in a ball. So I started crocheting the shawl with this magnificent, it's just beautiful wool and it goes in different colors and you just keep going with one ball. And suddenly, about 4 days ago, there was this massive knot that just started, this massive tangle, and I could not get it out of this ball of wool, the remaining ball of wool. I was about 3/4 finished with the shawl. And just out of the blue one night, I was pulling on the thread to get the last bit to come towards me. And it just started tangling it. It's like these darn little wires from our earbuds. Inexplicably and unbelievably, just suddenly. And I felt impatient and I started tugging and pulling and, tried to tug the whole thing out of like just tugging here and tugging there and pulling to try and get this knot. And of course, what did I do? I made it worse because now little knots were forming all over the place, tugging in places where it shouldn't have done. And I got so fed up every night, maybe for the next 3 nights, what I did is I maybe I made about that much headway in trying to untie this knot, and so I had this much wool to play with every night and to do a few another stitches. And then I got so fed up with it, I thought, this is no fun anymore. I want to do this crochet thing. I don't want to sit here and untie knots. So the next night I would pick it up again and impatiently start pulling and tugging, and just, of course, it got worse and worse until I put it away in a corner and I thought, I'm just going to leave this alone. I can't do this. I want to enjoy this and I'm no longer enjoying it. And in fact, I started thinking, oh, maybe I'll just leave it there in the corner until one day I feel like it. And part of my strengths are to finish projects. I really hate leaving things sort of halfway. It kind of nags here on my shoulder and it says, like, I like to finish things. So I thought maybe I can just leave it for a few nights and I'll know what to do. And then a couple nights later, I thought, let me just bring my usual patience to this process. And I sat on the carpet and I made a huge big space around me so that I had space to untie this thing. And I just brought a calmness to it and a patience, like, okay, let me think about how to approach this in a different way. And as I calmly sat there and I made space for it and I put a piece of wool there and I put a piece of the finished shawl over there and I could start sort of calmly, now I was in a different frame of mind and I could calmly start seeing where to start untying this mess. Before I was trying to thread the big piece of the shawl through the knots. And that was really hard work. It just didn't work. And just suddenly, when I put it out there on the carpet around me, I could see actually that was a dumb idea. What I could do is the piece of the ball of wool that's left is the smaller piece, and that's the part I need to try and thread through the knots to make headway. So what did I learn from this experience? And this is why I want to just share it with you, because we so often encounter this with our healing. We may have like built up a problem over many years, even sometimes many months, many weeks, and suddenly we sit with this big mess. And because it sort of creeps up on us over time, we don't realize how big the mess is until one day when we try and pull on the thread of our lives and it won't pull. There's nothing more to give. And then we need to take a step back. And so I got a few learnings from this process and I just want to share them with you. The first one is, in fact, I just want to get to my notes here so I can remember. We don't always know where to start untying the knots. If we've got an issue, usually it's not just one single thing that is the thing that we need to undo. It's usually like a combination of things, like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of, belief, and then a behavior and a habit. and a bad posture, and all of those things together suddenly makes this big ball of knots. And the truth is that we don't always know where to start untying it. And if we pull and tug and be very impatient with it, we can make it worse as well. So sometimes what we need to do is take a little bit of a step back, stop the impatient tugging and pulling and expecting us to just know what to do with this mess. Take a step back, maybe take a little bit of a breather and think about it in a different way. That's what I had to do with this big ball of knots, is I had to leave it there for a few nights, get all the impatience out of me first. And then my brain suddenly brought me new ways to look at it and say, hey, you've been going about it all from the wrong angle. Don't use this big piece over here. Use the smaller piece and make progress that way. So when I was calm and had a bit of a different perspective, I could start seeing what to do about it. So that's the other thing I want to mention is we need to sometimes take a rest from it, take a step back, stop trying so hard to fix it all in one go, and then new ideas will come to us about how to approach that. The other thing I noticed was while I was, the nights that I was impatient, I was pulling here and tugging there, and I thought I could just sort of untangle it if I pulled a bit here and pulled a bit there, and I couldn't see the wood for the trees or the wool for the for the shawl, but I thought if I just pulled everywhere a little bit, it would come loose. Well, that's not the way it worked. I had to loosen my grip and hold the ball of wool and the threads that started coming loose eventually, very gently and very softly, almost with compassion and with gentleness, instead of with impatience and doing it hard and harshly and come on, you must work together with me now. That's not the energy that worked to untie this big mess. I had to start with one little piece, one little place. And as I started pulling the, the piece of the last bit of the ball of wool, and I could find one little piece where I could, like a hole where I could thread it through. As I did that, I could see the next step. And then I could see, now there's a piece loose over here and I can thread this piece. And in the end, that's how I had to do it one step at a time. And that's exactly how it works with our healing issues or healing our issues. I wanted to just leave you with those thoughts. Is sometimes we are very, very impatient with ourselves. The knots have been building up over many years, perhaps, and many different factors are included in it. And yet, we can be so harsh, unkind, impatient with trying to fix it and pull it apart and know where to start. And we want it all gone just by pulling and tugging. And that is not the way to do it. The way to do it is first with some calmness. Sometimes we need the help of another person. We need to step back. We need to stop trying so hard. And I know that's very hard to do because we want our issues that are painful to be gone. So just, I hope that maybe next time you're dealing with something difficult and hard and it won't go away and you feel like you just want this to leave right now, maybe you can remember the story of Liesel and her shawl in a ball. It takes patience. It takes kindness. It takes holding it lightly and with love, with patience and compassion. And that's how our issues can heal. Lots of love, and may you have great kindness for yourself.